Good morning everyone. Can someone tell me whether my voice is clear and is this screen also clearly visible to you? Okay, thank you. So welcome to today's session, and today we will try to complete 16th January news, and obviously it will comprise of everything, be it ESI finance news and as well as other specific news related to phase 1 objective of regulatory body examinations as well as other IBPS and banking examination. Okay. So without further ado, let's start with today's session. Okay, so this is the first news. It's related to trade statistics within the month of December. Okay, so it specifically talks about the goods as well as services exports and imports and overall the trade deficit. So trade deficit, as all of you know, is value of exports minus value of imports. And when does trade deficit arise? If this total value comes out to be negative, that means imports are greater than exports. Then only trade deficit will arise. If exports are more than imports, then that condition will be called as trade surplus. Okay. So in this specific news, the ministry says that trade deficit, which was previously very high, it has been narrowed down, and obviously it is due to a lot of exports that has been done in the month of December. So as you can see, India's gross goods trade deficit has narrowed by about 4% in December. Okay, so it's like saying that if this was the value of trade deficit, it has been reduced to minus 4%. Okay, compared obviously with November, and the reason being rise in exports. Okay, so if we look at what are the various statistics with respect to exports from India or related to services as well as goods, so you will find that services exports fell marginally. Okay, but here only we talked about goods or merchandise exports. Okay, so that news is here. The merchandise trade deficit fell to $19.80 billion in December from 20.5 million in November, and this is million obviously, or billion. Okay, amid a surge in electronic, and what are the reasons? Electronic goods, drugs and iron ore exports. Because of rise of these three things, merchandise exports rose by 1%, and combined effect of the rose of merchandise exports and reduction in imports led to reduced trade deficit in December. Okay, so how do we utilize such type of news in the examination? Okay, so such type of data you will inevitably see in economic survey, where you will get the combined data or the projections. Okay, to utilize annual data, or remember annual data, and also remember the latest data just before your examination, whenever your examination is or are. If your examination for let's say is in February, okay, so remembering this data is very much critical, because it is just before your examination, and the examiner can always pick this government data and make questions on the basis of that Indian goods trade deficit has narrowed by what percentage in December. Then you have to remember this data. Okay, so I hope you get how to utilize these data in your examination or for your examination. And since this data is dynamic, remembering every monthly data is not that much important. Annually important हो जाता है क्योंकि वो एक बार fix हो गया. That 2020 and 2023, this data has been fixed, and that data will be provided to you in the economic survey or will be released by the ministry annually. ठीक है. So with respect to India's merchandise exports from April to December, that is this whole financial year, it currently stands at $317 billion. Okay, whereas imports, as you can see, stands at $505 billion. Although import is down, but still we are facing trade deficit on account of high imports and less exports. Okay? And obviously there are various reasons attributed to reduced Indian exports. So if I ask you, what are the reasons that you can think of why Indian exports are, reduced? Can you tell me what are the various reasons that you can think of? Everyone. Why do you think the world is not buying from India, especially in current scenario? Yes, inflationary pressures. ठीक है. Anything else? Reduction in demand. And why do you think demand is reduced, Pappu? Why do you think demand is less? What could be the reason for less demand? Demand generate कैसे होती है? Demand always gets generated because of increased liquidity in the economy. ठीक है? And this less demand also signifies less liquidity in the market. And what action of central bank reduces liquidity in the market? Anyone? What does central bank do that leads to reduced liquidity or reduced money in the economy? They increase interest rates. So similarly, globally, because of after COVID and conflict induced inflation, the governments have started, to increase interest rate, because of which the demand has become low. And because the global demand is low, there is global slowdown. And because there is no global, demand, Indian exports naturally will fall. Okay? I hope everybody gets this. This you can find here also. As you can see, Indian exports have been impacted by a slowdown in global growth, tightening of interest rates. Tightening of interest rate means increased interest rates. Okay, to nagging inflation, especially in advanced Western countries. And even conflicts have led to, supply chain disruptions. And even attack by Houthi militants in Red Sea. अब आपको पता है, ठीक है, for global trade, this all of you know is Indian Ocean. ठीक है? For any trade from East Asia to Europe, they passes from this Red Sea. And these Houthi militants in Yemen, okay, they are attacking commercial ships over here, thereby blocking this route and making commodities to go all the way from Cape of Good Hope to Europe. So this is what is happening: supply chain disruption, increasing the prices of commodity and thereby reducing the demand. This is what is leading to global economic slowdown and thereby reduced Indian exports. ठीक है? If increasing interest rates lower down our export, how is it beneficial then? How is it beneficial then? So beneficial, it is important to reduce inflation. Always look at the purpose of why the interest rates are being increased. Okay? Interest rates are being increased because the inflation or the price increase percentage in advanced economies is hovering around 8 to 9%, and that is not sustainable. To reduce this inflation, you have to reduce the demand, and the only way or the primary way the Federal Reserve usually reduce demand is increasing interest rate, that is giving less money in the hands of people. And when there is less money in the hands of people, people will not be consuming, and thereby it will suppress the prices of commodities and thereby reduce this inflation within the mandated target of each country. For example, in India, we have this target of 2% to 6%. So temporarily, it will not be beneficial for India. It will be, beneficial for these countries because they can reduce the inflation. But when the inflation will come into this target, then people will start again the consumption. And when the consumption will start, it will again help India's exports. Okay? Is this clear? Always think about what exactly is the purpose of what the governments are doing. Let's move on to the next news. The wholesale inflation jumps to 9-month high in December. Okay, wholesale inflation, WPI. Everybody tell me, what is the organization that releases WPI? And what is the base year? Who knows? No, NSO, not correct. NSO does not release WPI. Everyone? Office of Economic Advisor, DPIIT, okay, and Ministry of Commerce Industry. It releases WPI and the base year is 2011-12. Okay? Always remember these static details because in the examination, apart from the latest data, these things can come. So do not forget this. So now let's read what exactly is the trend of WPI throughout. So if you see, first of all, look at what happened in case of December 2022. Okay? In December 2022, this WPI was at almost 5%, as you can see. Okay? But then afterwards, between April and October, it went into negative territory. And what do you call negative inflation? What is that term? We call it deflation, suppressing of prices. So prices were actually decreasing in wholesale market. So it hovered in the negative territory for a extended period of time. But only in November and December, it came just above the positive mark. That means a little bit price increase equivalent to 0.26% in November, okay, and 0.73% in December. So this is what the news is saying, that the WPI index, which was previously in negative territory, has now again came back to what? Positive territory. That means now the price has increased in the wholesale market by 0.73%. Okay? And that's why they say 9-month high, because before 9 month it was right now at this place. अब इधर से आप measure करोगे तो this is what you call 9-month high. That's why it is not saying annual high, because annually तो यहाँ पे था ना 4.95, that is more than this 0.73%. ठीक है? Next news is India share of venture capital funding lowest in 5 years. Okay, so this is a report released by CB Insights on venture capital funding. So they are saying that India, this is the global share of total VC funding globally. Okay, and in this global share, Indian share has been continuously declining, especially in this year, which is 5-year low. So India's share of total global venture funding fell to 2.9% in calendar year. So this is only 2.9% of total global funding Indian startups received. So for example, if $100 billion is being provided to various startups in the world, Indian startups only received $2.9 billion. And this is 5-year low in the Indian startup domain, that we are not able to gather money from global investors. And this is obviously due to various factors, that is, funding winter, nobody is ready to compromise on their valuation, nobody wants, or even there is no liquidity in the market because of high interest rates. So even businesses are much more averse with respect to these startups. As you can see, especially various sectors like edtech and other sectors, the companies that were previously unicorn, they are not doing very well, and various companies are at losses or are burning money. So startups are also getting much more aware, and even VCs are getting much more aware, and even startups are also thinking about not gathering more money but increasing their revenue and reducing their cost. So they are also now more focusing on profit making. Okay? But at least just remember that Indian funding fell to 2.9% in calendar year 23, the lowest since calendar year 19, in which we were at $7.3 billion. Okay? So in 2023 calendar year, India contributed only 2 unicorns, whereas in Asia 21 unicorns were there. Okay? And if you compare it with 2022, we gave 22 unicorns to the world. Next, fundraising via private bonds at record high in 2023. ठीक है? तो देखो इसमें ऐसा है, first of all we are talking about bonds. So bonds you can either issue in the public market, that means on listed exchanges. For example, money market. Okay? And this is what you can call debentures or something like that, in which, let's say, if the loan or bond of a company is of worth 1 CR, it gets distributed into, let's say, 100 components of 1 lakh, and 1 lakh debenture will be taken by retail investor and other investors. तो ये तो हो गया if you go on a stock exchange, not stock exchange, a money market exchange, where you issue your debt or bond and public can take it. So this is one methodology. But there is also methodology which is also known as private placement, in which the company which is issuing this bond for raising debt money, ठीक है, give these bonds to only few investors that are chosen by the company which is issuing these bonds. Few investors, and they can be institutional investors. Institutional investors such as LIC, mutual fund organizations, fund houses. And such type of transaction do not happen on exchanges. That means public are not aware of it. Nobody knows. Okay? And obviously in public, if they disclose it, that is a different thing. But there is no restriction with respect to how to, what, basic parameters should be there, what interest rate should be there, what are the various things. That is essential in case of public issuance. Okay? So the news talks about this kind of raising of money, private placement. Now let's see the news. So the news says the fundraising via private bonds are at record high in 2023. That means companies are raising the money via private placement bonds in 2023, and it is the highest that we have recorded in this year. Okay, so it is a 26% increase as per the data by Prime database. Okay, and who are the people who have raised the highest amount of money from private placement? All India financial institutions and banks. So with respect to All India financial institutions, can you tell me any example? Everyone. What are various All India financial institutions? Very good. NABARD, Exim, etc. Okay. So these institutions as well as banks, they are the most prime, issuer of private bonds. Okay, and they account for 4.71 trillion rupees. Okay, and as you can see, if the total is 9.58 trillion and these two institutions are raising 4.71 trillion, they almost account for almost 50%. Okay? Then we have this private sector, excluding banks and financial institutions, for example, companies and of different sectors. They witnessed a staggering 40% surge in private placement. That means they go to a institutional investor and take money in the private. Okay? The government entities played a pivotal role, collectively mobilizing 41%. And among government entities which emerged, All India Financial Institution and Bank led with 89% share. This is evident itself. And in context of banks, HDFC emerged as the front runner, and in All India Financial Institutions, NABARD emerged as the front runner. So remember these two things. First, remember the total amount, which is 9.58 trillion. Then remember who two are the most, having the most share in the private placement. All India Financial Institutions and banks, and within All India Financial Institution, which is the highest, NABARD, and within the banks, which is the highest, HDFC. Okay? Let's move on to the next news. HDFC Bank raises $500 million from Japan's Mitsubishi UFJ Finance Group. Okay, so it's just a debt transaction. So HDFC Bank has raised $500 million from Japan's lender. Okay, the interest rate is SOFR plus 1.1%. SOFR we've already studied in one of the sessions of current affairs, that it is the global benchmark rate for any type of loans. Just like how you have, in India, the RBI says always, settle for one benchmark rate and then you can add more interest rate upon it. Okay? And why do you think HDFC Bank needs this much amount of money? Because all of you must be aware of that HDFC Bank has been recently merged with HDFC. Okay? So whatever assets and liabilities of HDFC Limited have now become the liabilities of HDFC Bank. Okay? So अब liability को if you have to pay, then you are facing liquidity crunch. and since you are a bank, you need liquidity a lot more. That's why HDFC Bank has raised this much amount of money. Okay? Next news, RBI eases concentration risk norms with immediate effect in context of non-banking financial companies with respect to exposures to central state government security deposits of borrowers as collateral and national guarantee schemes. So what exactly this is saying? देखो आपको पता है कि NBFC, first of all, a new type of regulatory structure has been provided by Reserve Bank of India with respect to NBFC, which consists of 4 tier of regulatory structure. The first layer is base layer, the second layer is middle layer, then the third layer is upper layer, and the fourth layer is top layer. And this is obviously on the basis of different asset size, perceived riskiness, and the functionality of what NBFCs are doing. So ये तो basic structure है. And apart from that regulatory structure, RBI also provided various concentration risk norms. Now what exactly is concentration risk? So concentration risk is like that these NBFCs has a practice of lending money to various customers, be it direct consumers or be it institutions. So if you let's say you have a asset size of 100 crores, and if I ask you that as an NBFC, can you give 50% of your asset to any one single debtor or one single borrower? Is it safe to do this, or do you want me to do 10 crore to 10 different borrowers? What do you think? Which is more safe or which is more riskier? Second option is safe. And why do you say so? And why do you think distribution is safer? Tell me. What is that, that thing which is making you do or making you choose this option and not this? So you're talking about risk, है ना? So what is risk? That let's say if this borrower doesn't repay the money, it's a risk, है ना? But we can afford to lose 10 crores and get money from 90 crores, but we cannot afford to lose 50 crores and only get money on 50 crores. This type of transaction is much more riskier compared to this type of transaction. है ना? So what exactly is concentration risk? When you concentrate all your assets into one particular borrower. ठीक है? How much concentration you can put into one particular borrower? In this case, we are doing 50%. In this case, we are doing 10% concentration on one particular borrower. Okay, so this percentage norms is what we call concentration risk norms provided by Reserve Bank of India with respect to various type of NBFCs. So what are various type of concentration risk norm? Everyone, if you know about this, does anyone have any idea? So with respect to a single borrower, the base layer NBFCs cannot give more than 15% of their tier 1 capital. है ना? Similarly, middle layer cannot give more than 20% and upper layer cannot give more than 25% to a single borrower. So these are the concentration risk. Take the same example of 100 CR. You cannot, these base layer NBFCs cannot give 15 crore, more than 15 crore to a single borrower. This middle layer cannot give more than 20 crore to a single borrower, and this upper layer cannot give more than 25 crore to a single borrower. So this restrictions was put in by Reserve Bank of India, obviously, to make sure that these type of NBFCs are safe, or their capital is safe, and they do not destabilizes the financial system. But what the news is saying that RBI has eased concentration risk norms. Okay? That means these norms are exempted. No restrictions with respect to few type of loans. And what are these few type of loans? Let's see those loans. So money provided to central government as well as state government, okay, are now exempted from concentration risk. That means RBI is saying आप central government, state government को कितना भी पैसा दे सकते हो, no issue, because central and state government will anyways provide you, because these are guaranteed claims. You will anyways will be provided to you, no issues. ठीक है? Similarly, guaranteed issues under Central Guarantee Scheme, CGTMSE, Risk Guarantee Fund for Trust for Low Income, and individual schemes under National Credit Guarantee. इनके गारंटी देने पर भी अगर आपको पैसा देना पड़ रहा है ना, no concentration risk. Give as much as money as possible, no limit on that. So this is what Reserve Bank of India is saying. Any confusion to anyone? आगे सबको समझ में? किसी को कोई कंफ्यूजन? If you have doubt, feel free to ask me in the end of this session. Let's move on to the next news, which is revised norms on fair lending practice from April 1st. Told by Reserve Bank of India. So this fair lending practice, this new norms we discussed in the previous class also, where banks were told कि भैया जो penalty आप लगा रहे हो for loan default, do not make it your revenue enhancement tool. ठीक है? It's just a contingency. Do not treat it like a revenue source, because whenever anything is termed as revenue source, then it is a general tendency within any company to increase the capacity of this revenue generation source. So you will, make sure that you will not, make customers aware of their late payments, which you usually have to do in normal parlance. फिर बैंक्स को तो ऐसा लगेगा कि अब इससे तो रेवेन्यू बहुत बढ़ रहा है ना, तो बैंक्स विल नॉट tell these people कि आप लोन टाइम से पे करिए. Banks will keep on generating more revenue, more penalty again month wise. So RBI says this will not be allowed, and this will be effective from April 1st. The concept of fair lending practice. Let's move on to the national news. So NHAI has said that for one vehicle there will be one FASTag. ठीक है? FASTag, as all of you know, RFID used for toll collection. ठीक है? Where if you go to tolls through your FASTag, the toll can be automatically deducted from your toll account. So what the government is saying, they are aiming to discourage user behavior of using single FASTag for multiple vehicles. एक FASTag को अब मान लो एक बंदे के पास दो गाड़ियां हैं, ठीक है, and he wants to ride another vehicle or take another SUV for long drives. तो उन्होंने प्राइमरी व्हीकल का FASTag निकाल के दूसरी गाड़ी में लगा दिया. So this type of behavior is what the government is trying to discourage. They are saying in both of your vehicles, put different FASTags, and do not try to combine those two different FASTags into one account. That is what government is saying. Another news is that FASTag with incomplete KYC will get deactivated or blacklisted by banks after 31st January. So it's an important news for those of you who are having cars. Okay, if your FASTag is incomplete or KYC not done after 31st January, it will be blacklisted. Next news, Boeing company, US aircraft company, known for what? Right now it is being infamous for airplane crashes. Two Boeing 737 MAX airplanes, I hope everybody knows that they crashed. One was in Africa and one was in, I guess, Southeast Asia. And there was this news about, that emergency door coming out of in Alaska Airlines, I guess. Okay? But that's a different thing. The news is talking about Boeing aircraft or Boeing maker is opening its warehousing facility in Uttar Pradesh at Khurja. Okay? For supply of parts. In India also there are a lot of Boeing planes, but don't worry, they are not 737 MAX, they are 737 previous one. So this warehousing is being operated with collaboration with third-party logistics provider DB Schenker. So this is the news. Remember this Khurja. This can be a one-liner question in a RBI examination. Okay? Let's move on to the next news. PM releases first installment of PM Janman scheme. Okay? The PM Janman scheme, as you can see, PM Pradhan Mantri Janjati Adivasi Nyay Maha Abhiyan. So how many of you are aware of that government released government at least announced in the 2023-2024 budget that they will, launch a particular scheme especially for particularly vulnerable tribal groups. The corpus was initially 15,000 crores from central government. That was announced. So this is that scheme only, which was told by finance minister in its budget. Okay? So that scheme has been launched by the name of PM Janman. Okay, with approximately 24,000 crores distributed between center and states, the funds. Okay, and because this Janman scheme is aiming for holistic development of particularly vulnerable tribal groups. Holistic development means rural infrastructure, housing, water, sanitation, pipeline, drinking water, everything. So that's why when you're thinking about holistic development, you need convergence of 9 ministries. Okay, so this is what the aim of PM Janman scheme. And the first installment of this fund has been released of worth 540 crores to 1 lakh beneficiaries. Okay? So within PM Janman, this 540 crores is for rural housing scheme. Is this clear? Next, India tops the trust in businesses and NGOs. Okay, trust how much trust Indians have within their businesses and within their NGOs. It is being talked about in Edelman Trust Barometer 2024. Okay, so this was released in Davos. So as you can see, India tops the chart of that with respect to Indians' trust in their business sector. It is highest, and Indian trust in non-governmental organization, it is also highest. Okay? But India is 4th in terms of trust in its media and 5th in terms of trust in its government. Okay, so let's see who are at the top in these parameters. Saudi Arabia are at the top for trust shown by their people in their government. And ironically, this is as per Edelman Trust, people in China trust their media. So China is at the top in people trusting their media. Okay, so this is not me, this is Edelman Trust Barometer saying. Ironic it seems. Next, in terms of trust shown in one's employer or business, Indonesia emerged at the top. Okay, followed by India. So these are the, and overall index, okay, India moved to 2nd place from 4th in 2023. So there are various aspects that you can remember. Okay, it's an important metric because it is being released in Davos World Economic Forum. तो उससे related कुछ भी हो आप please याद कर लेना. Next, so Ram Lala's idol has been sculpted by Arun Yogi Raj. So this idol will be installed in Ayodhya. Okay? It has been sculpted on Krishna Shila, black stone, by Mysuru based sculptor Arun Yogi Raj. Next, India ranked 35 on Future Possibilities Index released by Newsweek, Vantage and Horizon Group. And this was also released on the sidelines of World Economic Forum Annual Summit. So as you can see, the top rankers are Denmark, US, Netherlands and Germany. Okay? And these are second, Denmark is second, third, fourth, fifth. The first is UK. And India has achieved rank of 35 with respect to leveraging future possibilities. Next news, so Kabul or Khanij Videsh India Limited, okay? It's a state-run company, Indian state-run, Indian company. So this company has been provided the license to explore lithium in Argentina. Okay? So it is the first ever lithium exploration by an Indian company, Indian state-run company, okay, which will be exploring these 5 lithium blocks, okay, in the Catamarca province. And this is very important, especially if you are focusing upon EV sector. Okay? So just remember which is organization, how many blocks it has received, for what purposes and in what province, and obviously in which country. Okay? I'm just telling you all the aspects that can be asked in an examination so that you can focus upon what things you need to cram, or at least if you are making notes, these are the things you need to make notes about. Next, Asian Development Bank has provided 18 million loan to Cygnus Medicare, okay, for its expansion of 6 new hospitals in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, okay, in India and especially in northern India. So it's just a debt transaction. Davos Summit of World Economic Forum is being held in Davos, Switzerland. It's an annual meeting from January 15 to 19, where a lot of countries come, they discuss about the future possibilities, they discuss about various technologies, they discuss about the global issues in general, okay, and it's like a congregation of different representatives of different countries where their focus is upon global issues. They discuss upon what things needs to be done and what are the exact primary issues that we need to focus upon. Okay? So World Economic Forum, as you can see, headquarters in Cologne, Switzerland, chairperson Borge Brande. Next, IMF Managing Director Kristalina says that artificial intelligence will affect almost 40% of global jobs. Okay? With advanced economies facing more exposure than emerging market or low income countries. So that's a new thing. Okay? AI will impact global jobs more in advanced Western economies compared to emerging markets, as per IMF chief Kristalina Georgieva. And unfortunately, she says that AI will likely worsen overall inequality present in the global world. Okay? Next, Nipah virus gets first human vaccine trial. Okay, scientists at University of Oxford in UK have launched first in human vaccine trial for the deadly Nipah virus, which impacts many Asian countries, including India. The trials of this vaccine called Chadox 1 Nipah B vaccine. Okay, it's right now in the trial phase. So let's see what exactly is its result. So with an eye on Ladakh, DRDO begins testing new light tank. As you can see, so DRDO is trying to develop an indigenous light tank that can be used in Ladakh region. As all of you know, how much hostility is going on in Ladakh region. Okay? Because at that place, Chinese already have their TQ-15 light tank. Okay? Next, the Panchayati Raj Ministry Inc. pact with IIM Ahmedabad. Okay, and for what? For training elected representatives and functionaries of Panchayati Raj institutions. And what is the program called? Leadership in Panchayat for Strategic Rural Transformation. LEAP start at IIM Ahmedabad. So most of the representatives of Panchayati Raj institutions will go to IIM Ahmedabad in cohorts, and they will be trained with respect to various aspects of administration and taking care of Panchayati Raj governance. Okay? So this is all for today. If you have any question, feel free to ask. Otherwise, let's wind up the session. And thank you guys for joining. It's all the same only. So Divya, we will address all this circular comprehensively in our circular class. So don't worry. I will take all the important circulars that is there in the month of January separately so that everyone can benefit it from. Anything else? Chalo, thank you guys for joining. We'll meet in the next session. Okay. Until then, keep studying, keep remembering, and keep cramming, and keep motivated. Be motivated. Okay. Thank you.